Simply Southern is produced by the Alabama Farmers Federation and made possible with the support of Alabama Farmers Cooperative.
There's nothing quite like sitting down to a home-cooked meal with fresh vegetables from the garden. With Bonnie plants from your local quality co-op store, you can enjoy the freshest vegetables right from your own backyard. And no matter if you're a raised bed gardener, a rose gardener, or if you farm hundreds of acres, your quality co-op store has exactly what you need to get the most out of your plants. You'll always find what you need, plus friendly, knowledgeable advice at your local quality co-op store. There's one near you.
What we eat, what we wear. It all starts somewhere. And if it's good, it usually starts with a farmer. And that somewhere is right here in Alabama. In a field, in a barn, on a tractor. Right now, there's a farmer starting something good for all of us. And it all starts right here in Alabama.
Hello and welcome to Simply Southern. I'm Mary Wilson.
And I'm Kevin Worthington. The past year has been virtual this and virtual that, and that includes education. But today we're tagging along as a group of teachers takes a field trip to East Alabama farms, and it's all in person.
Raleigh King was a special child whose young life ended too soon. But today, a ministry in her name provides hope and love to foster children, letting them know their worth.
Stacy Little describes the dish he's preparing for us today as amazingly simple, but ridiculously delicious. It's slow cooker beef and noodles, and our thanks to the Alabama Cattlemen's Association for sponsoring today's recipe.
Over in Pickens County, the town of Aliceville has a population of a little less than 2,500 people.
But at one time, the city was home to over 6,000 Germans. They were soldiers, prisoners of war, captured in North Africa during World War II.
And they were housed at Camp Aliceville, our country's largest POW camp at the time it was built. And today, we're visiting the museum that honors this part of Aliceville's, and really, U.S. history. Aliceville, Alabama is the quintessential small rural town.
Our economy has always been agriculture-based. So it's basically a community based on production of the land.
Its remote location with rail access made it the perfect place for a POW camp during the Second World War.
The primary reason that these camps were placed where they were was because they were all out in the middle of nowhere. And that's kind of what Aliceville was.
The camp was actually built beginning in September and October of 1942. It was completed in December. The first prisoners arrived on Wednesday, June the 2nd, 1943.
Don't feel bad if you didn't know this tidbit of Alabama history. An old chimney is the only remaining structure from the camp, which was dismantled shortly after it closed back in September 1945.
Right after the Second World War, building supplies were very hard to come by. So they had salvage sales down there, and they sold the lumber, the doors, the windows, even the nails.
Thankfully, the Aliceville Museum includes an extensive exhibit dedicated to the POW camp, which was one of nearly 500 in the U.S. during World War II. If Hollywood productions have made you think POW camps were full of misery and suffering, this museum will show you a completely different side of the story.
The United States was determined to follow the Geneva Conventions to the letter, and we did. We treated the prisoners very well, as we would have wanted to be treated.
They competed in sporting events. They put on plays featuring handmade puppets. They carved sculptures, which are still on display in the museum courtyard, and created countless works of art and even instruments.
This was done for a competition they had in December 1944. It was called German Culture Week. But the sound is pretty amazing, really.
A wall of portraits tells the story of German POWs who returned to Aliceville after the war, just to visit, including Bruno Schneider.
That tunic there in the center is the one he was wearing when he got off the train here in Aliceville in 1943. But this is the check he got from the U.S. government when he returned to Germany.
How did they get checks from the U.S. government?
They could contract out to work on local farms or in the timber industry here. And the farmers paid the government, and the government paid the workers about 10 cents an hour.
POWs were repatriated following VE Day, but the lifelong lesson of Camp Aliceville is one of treating everyone, even our enemies, with civility.
This is a feel-good story. It's a story that the prisoners here were well treated. I think it's important to know that if you treat people well, then they respond.
The Aliceville Museum is actually 4 museums in one. It's housed in the old Coca-Cola bottling plant in downtown. And the bottling equipment is all still there, so that's one of the other 4 exhibits. Plus, they have exhibits for military history and Aliceville's history.
And if you really want to experience this piece of history in a unique way, they're planning a reenactment of the German soldiers' arrival at Camp Aliceville. Now that'll be in May of 2022, so be sure to follow the Aliceville Museum on Facebook to get more details about that event.
What if you could shop and support a good cause at the same time? Well, you can. Up next on Simply Southern, we'll visit a thrift store where profits go toward making life better for foster children.
Car accidents happen, whether it's a fender bender or a major crash. There are 7 steps you should follow after being involved in an accident. Check yourself for injuries. Check your passengers. Get to a safe place. Call the police. Do not admit fault or blame others. Gather information and file your insurance claim. Call your local insurance agent to make sure you have the coverage you need. These Alpha Insights are proudly presented by Alpha Insurance.
Soybean is a very versatile product. We make crayons out of it.
A lot of the combines you see rolling through the fields have a lot of plastic side panels that are made from a soy product.
The soybeans that we grow on our farm mostly goes into chicken feed.
Soybean production in Alabama employs over 10,000 people.
We grow some of the best soybeans in the world.
We go the extra mile to make sure when our name is stamped on it, we know it's the best product we can produce.
Redland Farms grew to Redland Cotton with the help of Alabama Farm Credit. After World War II, my grandpa bought land to start a farm, which was passed down to my dad. Now, my dad and I are producing quality American products from the cotton we grow right here on this farm. Through our relationship with Alabama Farm Credit, we are bringing jobs to Alabama and creating a legacy for future generations to come.
Farm Bureau Bank has built its entire existence around the lifestyle and needs of farmers and ranchers across America. We're here to help grow traditions, give back to agricultural communities, and offer financial convenience for your unique way of life. From sunup to sundown, we are committed to serving you.
Wear long pants, long sleeve shirts, and closed-toed shoes. Don't be ticked. Use repellents with 20% DEET on skin and 0.5% permethrin on gear and clothing. Don't be ticked. Avoid sitting on rotten logs or stumps. Don't be ticked. Protect yourself from serious tick-borne illnesses and seek timely treatment to prevent long-term problems. No hunters were angered in the making of this film.